What's up guys, it's Z here, welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. Today we are starting to profile the decks from Duels from the Deep. The new Duelist pack is finally out and we have some really good decks actually. This time I feel like 2 out of the 3 decks in this set actually have rogue potential to be really good in the meta because both of these decks have somewhat of win conditions that are already in other decks. But I'm going to explain a little bit about the decks once I get to each one specifically. We're going to profile all 3 of them, but the first one I wanted to feature is Sharks, because I feel like Sharks is the one out of the 3 that has the most potential. The deck is really good at spamming rank 4 monsters. It got even more support that gives it more extenders and more disruptions, so the deck I don't feel like has ever been better than this. So now if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming content, and now let's get to the deck profile. So let's start with the monsters. First off, for starters, we have 3 copies of Basso Shark. This is the main normal summon of the deck. You want to get this guy on the field, and what he does is that you can target a fish monster in the field and you special summon another one from the deck with the same level. It's basically a 1-card rank 4. It's really great. We have 3 copies of Unofficial Princess. This is the second normal summon of the deck. You want to summon her, you tribute her, and you banish her, and then you special summon your Basso from the deck. So it's basically playing 6 copies of Basso Shark, 7 if you include the 1-for-1, which also includes a special summon, which is way better if you want to extend. So you need to absolutely max out on both of these cards. Now let's get into some of the new cards that we got from Duels from the Deep. First, we have 3 copies of Abyss Shark. So this is one of the new extenders. So basically what this card does is if all monsters you control are water monsters, you special summon it, and then you can search a monster, which also you're going to search one of the new cards. Basically, you can get any level 3, 4, or 5 fish from your deck to your hand, but the thing is, there is one specific card that we also got in this set that's base card you can search, because this card is level 5. Both of these new monsters are level 5. They can be treated as level 3, 4, or 5 when they're used for Xyz summon, but the thing is, these cards give you access to a new Xyz monster that is rank 5, which is a really good disruption for the deck. It's basically very similar to the Machine X that DDD got, basically attaching of your opponent's monsters to its own as material. So basically having a 1-card extender that can be used either for its own as an extender, or you can search another extender on top of it to basically get another monster. So opening with Basso and Abyss Shark means that you have a Stealth Kraken or a Bahamut Shark with the Asylum Knight that we got in the new set. So this deck has a lot of ways to play through hand traps. It has a lot of ways to extend through pretty much disruptions going second. It's very difficult to break with this deck because even having like 2 of the water extenders that we're going to showcase a little bit later, you just mean that you have a play. So this deck is very difficult to break. And even if this deck breaks, you're breaking on cards like other hand traps or the floodgate that you play in the deck. So it's not like you have absolutely nothing to do. So this is why I think this deck is a really good rogue deck. It's very budget friendly and you can basically pick this up and learn it very quickly because it's not a difficult deck. Now the card that you're going to be searching most of the time with your Abyss Shark is the 1 copy of Crystal Shark. Now you can potentially play a second copy of this card because we are playing Desires in the deck, because Desires being at 2 means that it's actually worth playing, because at 1 it was a card that you were most likely never going to see, but at 2 it's actually consistently decent, so you could play a second copy of this. But the thing is, it's not something that you absolutely need to search with Abyss Shark. You have other targets as well. So this card is another level 5 extender. So what this card does is if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can target a water monster you control, and basically you can special summon this card and it halves the attack of the current monster. A lot of these cards lock you into either water monsters or Xyz monsters, but it doesn't matter too much because most of the disruptions you're going for when you're going first are water monsters. When you're going second, you can go into other plays that are not water but are Xyz based, so keep that in mind that you need to use your Basso's effect first because it only locks you into Xyz monsters before you use Abyss Shark or Crystal Shark, which will lock you into water monsters. So yeah, this card is another level 5 monster. You search this with your Abyss Shark, you target your Abyss Shark, you special summon it, and then you go into your Asylum Knight and basically have another disruption right there. Now we do play a lot of extenders in the deck because the good thing about this deck is that it's very easy to bait hand traps. For example, everyone is going to use a Veiler or an Imperm on your Basso just because they think that's a 1-card Xyz, but the thing is, it's actually incorrect to use hand traps early against this deck because you want to keep like a Veiler or an Imperm for Bahamut Shark, because the deck is very likely to be able to play through hand traps because of all the extenders we play. So first we play 3 copies of Silent Angler. This is the best one because it's a target for White Mirror. So basically when you open your Basso Shark and your White Mirror, you can get into 2 rank 4s on the field. So the play is that you can summon your Basso, get the Angler from the deck, you overlay into Bahamut, you detach the Angler specifically, get your Totally Awesome, then you use your White Mirror, which is a spell card I'll show later. What it does is that it special summons a fish from the grave, and then it searches a fish from the deck with the same name. So you summon back your Angler, you search another Angler, and you have not used Angler's effect from your hand to special summon it, so then you can special summon it and you go into a Stealth Kraken. So this deck does have have a lot of 2-card combos that can get you into 2 rank 4s on the field, but also if you have more extenders, you can do even more. It's very easy sometimes with the correct hand to get into Stealth Kraken, Bahamut Shark Toad, and the Asylum Knight on the field all at once. So this is why playing a lot of extenders in the deck is very, very crucial. We play 3 copies of Silent Sea Nettle. This is another monster that can just special summon and sell from the hand if you control a water monster, and it does have a graveyard effect which comes in handy a lot of the times, so you can banish it from the grave, target up to 3 waters in the grave, and you shuffle them back into the deck. So this card means that you don't really need to play a second copy of Bahamut Shark and Toad unless you actually want to go for the future play during the first turn, but because of the new support you get locked into waters a lot, so it's not like you will be able to go into Utopic Future very quickly. So this is why you don't really need to play multiple copies of Bahamuts and Toads. Because of this card, you can just put them back and then summon them again during the late game. Being an extender and recycle effect means that this card is really good. And the last extender we play in the deck is 3 copies of Tennis Spears Thana. This is a monster that you summon first and then you go into your Buzzsaw. The problem I have with this card is that sometimes summoning a monster before Buzzsaw means that your opponent is not going to waste a hand drop on Buzzsaw, because if you summon this first, then you normal Buzzsaw and use its effect, you already have 2 level 4s on the field, and your opponent knows that even if they use like a Veiler on Buzzsaw, you can still summon a Bahamut Shark or a Stealth Kraken, so they won't use it. But if they see only Buzzsaw on the field, that's when they waste their hand traps. So this is why, in my opinion, Nettle and Angler are better extenders, but I still prefer this card over Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion to go into Rare Fizz, just because the deck already has so many extenders, so paying life points I feel like it doesn't really serve much of a purpose, because it makes you lose into time, which this deck does not lose into time unless you're playing these cards, and it also means that you have 1 less space in your extra deck as well, so I still prefer this card over the fusion spells. Now we do play a lot of hand drops in the deck. The cool thing about this deck is that it does have a lot of like 1 or 2 card combos that you can get in track 4, so which means that you have the free space in the main deck to play a lot of hand drops in order to be able to combat the meta. So we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This card is the most generic one you should be playing in pretty much any deck you're playing. 3 copies of Effect Veiler, again another really great card, and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. These 3 hand traps I feel like are the top priority, so when you're playing 9 hand traps, these are the ones that you should be playing for sure, and then if you have space for even more hand traps, then you should consider cards like DD Crow or Nibiru. But if you only have space for 9 hand traps, I feel like these 9 are the perfect ones, and I'm trying to make this deck as generic as possible, so this is why I'm not main decking any cards like Nibiru or DD Crow. I don't really want to have dead cards in the main deck, and these cards are the ones that you're going to be using for the most. Even Imperm against Eldritch, you can still set it and try to shut off a floodgate in order to be able to play, so yeah, I prefer these 9 in the deck. For the spell cards, first we have 1 copy of 1-for-1. This is another extender that can also be a starter, because you summon your Beautiful from the deck and then you're using her effect to summon Buzzsaw, so it's basically playing 7 copies of Buzzsaw Shark. We play 3 copies of White Mirror. When you combine this card with Buzzsaw, it's the play I told you before that you can get in 2 rank 4s on the field. Because of Silent Angler, this card basically gives you recovery and an extender in your hand. It's an amazing card and you have to max it out. We play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Hopefully in the next ban list we will be playing 3 copies of Pot of Desires in the deck, because the deck doesn't care. The only one of that you play is Crystal Shark, and even if it gets banished, it doesn't change that much for the play. And sometimes you don't really want to activate this first because you already have the plays you want in your hand. You do everything first and then you activate Desires during the end of the combo, so you can potentially draw into hand traps or other disruption cards like the 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet right here. I was considering 3, but I tried to fit 40 cards into the deck. I didn't want to play above 40. So if you want to play a 3rd copy of Droplet, you can cut either one of the extenders, maybe a Sithana, or you can cut one of the Effect Veilers, so if you can play 3 copies. It's pretty much up to player preference, but I feel like Droplet is a card that it's not the biggest impact right now against certain decks. Against other decks it's really good, against for example Short Soul, but when you're using it against a deck like Despia, basically does the same job as Chalice, unless your opponent has Poly in the grave, so you wouldn't be able to stop Chimera with Chalice, so this is why Droplet is a little bit better against that matchup. But still, if you want to play 3, there are a lot of stuff you can cut for the 3rd one. I just wanted to max out on the hand traps and the extenders and play 2 Droplets instead. We play 1 copy of Called by the Grave because this card is absolutely ridiculous. I don't feel like there's any deck that does not play Called by the Grave. If you're not playing this card, then please play it. No matter what deck you're playing, this card is not just to stop hand traps. The effect to negate something from the grave and banish it for 2 turns, it's absolutely ridiculous, even if your opponent does not play any hand traps. Especially now, with cards like Branded in red and Branded Banishment, by banishing the target that they're trying to summon, you negate the entire effect completely, so this is why this card is absolutely broken. And the last card in the main deck is 3 copies of Gozen Match. Now, the reason we are main decking Gozen Match in this deck is because of Stealth Kraken. Having Stealth Kraken and Gozen Match is pretty much the same as having Zombie World and Rivalry of the Warlords in Zombies, because Stealth Kraken turns all of your opponent's monsters into water monsters, so when they summon their first monster, it becomes water, and then you flip the Gozen Match, and if they're not playing playing a water deck, they basically cannot summon anything from their hand because they don't have the same attribute in their hand to summon, so this is why this lock can outright win games on its own. For the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Stealth Kraken. Now, there are a lot of builds that are playing less copies of Stealth Kraken and of the Kraken spawn, but playing 2 and 2, I feel like it's the correct one just because you can tag out into 2 Kraken spawns when this card gets destroyed, and then during the next turn, if your opponent doesn't deal with the Kraken spawns, you can turn them into a Utopic Future and then to Utopic Future Draco, and by playing the second copy of Stealth Kraken means that if you keep your Kraken spawns on the field and then you can get another one to another Stealth Kraken, if you recycle them with your Silent Sea Nettle, you can summon them again and again and again, and it's very difficult to deal with these cards. This is why this deck can grind a lot just because of these floating effects. So this card basically turns all of your opponent's monsters into water, and during the main phase as a quick effect, you can destroy a water monster your opponent controls. It doesn't even need to detach a material, which is a good thing because when it's destroyed, you summon Kraken spawns from the extra deck up to the number of materials this card had, which is always going to be 2, unless you're playing Xyz Remora, but I don't like Xyz Remora. I feel like it's a win more extender. I feel like extenders that do not rely on you having a monster, an Xyz monster on the field are much better, so that's why I'm not playing Xyz Remora. So you're going to be floating into the 2 Kraken spawns right here, and these 2 Kraken spawns, when they're destroyed, you can basically summon Stealth Kraken from the graveyard up to the number of materials this card had, and the good thing is that Stealth Kraken is going to put water monsters from your graveyard to these 2 guys here as material when it's destroyed, so you can basically loop your Totally Awesome. So if you use your Totally to negate, you get another card into your hand with Toad, and then once your Stealth Kraken is destroyed, you put the Toad under one of these guys, and then when these guys are either destroyed or you overlay with them for the Utopic Future, you're still going to activate Toad over and over and over again, so you basically keep refilling your hand with water monsters to be able to go into more rank 4 plays during the following turns. So this is why I feel like the 2 and 2 ratio of Stealth Kraken and Kraken spawn has been working really well for me. Now, for the new Xyz monster, we have the Asylum Knight. This card is the new disruption of the deck. It's basically a rank 5 that it cannot be destroyed by battle with a number of monsters on the field, and during the main phase as a quick effect, you detach 2 materials from this card, you attach a number Xyz monster that has a number between 101 and 107 from your extra deck to this card, and then you can attach one other face-up monster on the field to this card as material. So the cool thing is that this card, while it detaches 2 materials to activate, it automatically puts back again 2 materials under it, so you can use the effect again next turn. So as long as you have targets in your extra deck to be able to keep using this effect, it's very easy to keep using this card during your own turn and during your opponent's turn to get the most out of it. So the question about this card is how many over 100 numbers you play and which ones you play. So the ones I play, first we have the 1 copy of the original, the 101 Silent Honor Arc. Now this card is a water monster, it's a rank 4, it's a card that going second can sometimes deal with stuff that the rest of the deck can't, because let's say for example your opponent has a monster that cannot be destroyed by card effects, so Stealth Kraken cannot deal with it, but this card here can, so it offers some utility unlike the other over 100 numbers. But I do play 1 more because playing 2 copies for a Nash Knight is basically the correct thing, because if you only use its effect once, you're definitely going to need to use it again at least 1 more time during the next turn to basically steal another monster. So I'm playing 1 copy of Ragna Zero. There might be some matchups where Ragna Zero can actually work, but it's not here just because it's a card that you can summon, but it's because the only monster that is over 100 that can potentially be useful in some matchups but also be a target for Nash Knight. So these 2 are the ones I play in my deck. Next up, we play the 1 copy of Bahamut Shark. I mentioned again that with Silent Sea Nettle, you don't really need to play a second copy of this and Totally Awesome just because you can recycle them. And the play that you summon 2 Bahamut Sharks and then you go into Utopic Future Draco with the new cards that lock you into water is not something you're going to be doing that often, so this is why I'm playing only 1. And with the same thing, I also play 1 copy of Totally Awesome. This card, you basically loop it as material with Stealth Kraken, keep getting more cards, and once you need to summon it again, you put it back with Silent Sea Nettle. We play 1 copy of Baguska. This is here in case you're playing against Branded and you know you cannot summon too many monsters, because against Branded, summoning like 1 Toad or 1 Stealth Kraken or 1 Nash Knight is not going to do anything. But this card on its own can get you your turn back against Branded, and you can potentially try to build a bigger board during turn 3. This is why this card in this format is so good. We play the 1 copy of Utopic Future, which of course goes into the 1 copy of Utopic Draco Future. You can sometimes get these guys. This is why I feel like playing 2 Kraken spawns is important, because when your Stealth Kraken is destroyed, you get your 2 Kraken spawns, and if your opponent doesn't deal with them, then the first thing you're going to do next turn is overlay them into this guy and basically get another disruption and a very difficult monster to deal with on the board. And the last 3 cards we have in the extra deck is the Zodiac package with Zeus, because we all know how broken broken in any rank 4 deck this package is for going second. So we have the 1 copy of Zodiac Chakanine because it requires any 2 level 4 monsters to summon, and then you put the Zodiac Borbo on top of her, you attack directly, and then you go into the 1 copy of Sky Thunder Zeus and you basically destroy your opponent's entire board. So you get a 4 material Zeus out of a 1 rank 4, and then you can use this effect again after you've used the rest of your disruptions. And it doesn't really matter that you're going to clear the rest of your entire board as well, just because of the effect of Toad being able to recycle itself over and over again with the materials. You're going to have a hand to be able to make another rank 4 during the next turn, so you don't really care that you're destroying your own board as well. You only care that you can break your opponent's board and then have another disruption on top of it. So yep, that's the deck, guys. Sharks, I feel like right now are at the best that they have ever been, and if you're a fan of the deck and you've been playing it even before the new support actually gave it not only more extenders but more disruptions, and this is why the deck can now compete into a really, really good level. And if your opponent doesn't know what this deck does, then it's very easy to bait cards in effects that they shouldn't really be negated, for example like Buster Shark. So this is why you can also clutch the advantage this way as well and have a lot of success with the deck. So yep, that's the deck, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos, and we'll see you next time.